down a little bit. Hi guys, how are you? Okay, we're attempting this again. I'm Audrey McDonald, in case you don't know who I am. You're about to get a sneak peek into one of my private lessons with a student of mine. Yay, how are you?
So you can hear me okay?
I can hear you just fine.
Okay.
Awesome. So I was just talking about you, actually, and so she's part of the group. She was the most active in our warm-up group, which gave her a free voice lesson. And it's supposed to be 15 minutes long if it's private, but she opted to make it public for you guys, and that made it 30 minutes. So we are going to work on the national anthem for the U.S., Got to be specific about that. And so let's get started. So what I have as we're going through this is I have a cheat sheet. Those of you that have followed me know that I do a cheat sheet for every single song that I work on. She's got hers over there. I will be writing down notes on everything that we do as we go through them. Welcome to go ahead and go to vocalfreebies.com. Click on cheat sheets, and about an hour after this recording, I will upload it in there, and you can print it out and have your own cheat sheet. So, pretty awesome. Let me grab my pen. So you're all warmed up, yeah?
Yes. It's really dry here now. We have fires and everything, so it's like,
That's crazy. Wow. Well, all right. Well, let's get started. So the first thing that we want to do when we're working on the national anthem is figure out where you want to start. You want to end. So the national anthem has like a huge range. It's a very difficult song. I don't know if you know, but it was originally a poem and then they made it into a song. It's a little shuffled. So I want to check out where your low range is and where your high range is and kind of figure out within there where the strong point is, so I know what note you're going to start on. Are you singing this without music or with music?
Without
when
music.
You do it. Without. Okay, good. Super duper good. That gives us way more freedom. And that's pretty typical too. Okay, so let me make sure you can hear me. Can you hear this? Yay! Okay, so I want to start off, we're going to do an E vowel. Simply because, for the land of the free, there's your E, you know? So, okay, so let's start off here. Christina's done scales with the videos that I have in the group, so she kind of has an idea of it. But we haven't done a one-on-one live. So with a one-on-one, I'm going to play the scale, and then you're going to sing. And then I play, and then you sing. Because I can't play at the same time, otherwise it just doesn't come through. So what you'll hear is this. You'll hear a, and you would do a E. Yep. All right. So go ahead and give it a shot.
E.
Good.
E.
Awesome.
E.
Okay, that's strong. Let's see if we can go a little lower. That's strong. Let's see if we can go lower. That way I know I can take you in this song, because the lower I can take you, the least amount of high that you have to hold while you're there. So let's do another one. Good. Awesome. Yeah. All right, if you guys are following along, just sing along as I'm playing this as well on a repeat. That way you can figure out where you are, but we're going to keep going. Yeah, so I would say right about there. You've lost a lot of your power, so I don't want to go any lower than that. So I'm going to put a little note on here where that is. If you want to know, which you actually should know, that's an E flat. So if you're looking at a piano, a lot of people are like, I don't know what note I'm singing. I don't know what it is. There are a ton of piano apps that you can get totally free. Do the same thing, pressing the things, and it'll show the piano. It'll show what the note is called. So this one, your lowest, we're going to say is an E flat. Technically, it's an E flat, a 3. It's a third or a 3. Depends on what country you're in as to what you describe it as, but we're going to call it an E flat 3. Okay, so now I know that. I'm going to go back up to my middle C, which is technically a C4, and we're going to head all the way up, and I'm going to see how high you can go, all right? So staying in a middle C, which is the E. Good.
Sorry.
Good. That's okay. That's your transitional point. We're fine. Okay, your highs are sounding good. Okay, we're gonna do a few more. They almost get stronger as you go up. That's kind of interesting. All right, let's keep going.
Weird.
That's unusual, but your notes are getting stronger as we're going. That middle range, your voice is like, but as soon as we pass that, yeah, that's funny.
Part.
That's also known as the break. So a lot of people call it, oh, there's some break in my voice. I hate the break in my voice. But okay, so let's keep going a little bit higher. I don't think I'm going to have you like singing super high note for your ending note, but let's just hear it. Good. Okay, so I'm going to stop you there. So we're looking at an F sharp, or you can consider it a G flat depending on how you're looking at it. All right. And that is, oh, goodness, that's a 5. Good. Okay. The beauty in this is that you've got a good range to work with. So the national anthem is basically an octave. We're looking at an octave range between where you start and where you end, and making sure that it's sitting within there. So if we're starting, let's start you. I want to start you in the middle of that. So if your lowest is an E flat 3, then I'm going to bring you up a little bit to give you a little strength. And we're going to go F sharp to F sharp. Yeah. Sorry, I meant it's a 2 octave range. What did I say? A 1 octave range? It's a 2 octave range song. So we're going to start here. I'm going to write a little note too. Yeah. F sharp 2 or 3. F sharp 3. Sorry. So oh, wait, no. Oh, say. Oh, say. Then we got to start here. Oh, say. There we go. Your first note, correct, is a D flat or C sharp 4, just so you know. I know, you're like, what are you talking about? Basically, what I did is I took the first note, and then I went from there to find out what is that note going to be that it ends on my lowest note. So your lowest note that we're choosing that still has some strength is that F sharp 3. This one. You're still decently strong in that. So what note do you start off the song in order to hit that? And we just kind of ran through it a little bit and went, oh, say, which is your lowest note in the song. Oh, say. So it means that we're starting here, which is your C sharp 4. Excuse me. So we're going to try it on a C sharp 4. So let's hear you sing it now that we kind of have an idea of about where I want you to start from. This is your starting note. Just so you know, if you are doing like a live performance and you're like, how am I going to remember what note to start with? There is also another free app. I'm just all full of free apps. Just search it, and you want a pitch pipe. Or you can use the piano as well. I'm a little old school and I like the sound of a pitch pipe, even though it's not a real pitch pipe. You can buy a real pitch pipe, but it will say what it is. And you're looking for that C-sharp 4. And so you'd push it and it'd go, bah, and you're like, okay. Oh, say, can you see? Yeah. All right. So let's hear it. I'm going to take a bunch of notes as you're singing it too.
Okay, so sing the whole song?
The whole shebang.
Okay. It's always so nerve-wracking. Okay.
You're going to do it, and I know it's hard because we're live and you're like, people are watching, but they're also watching going, oh, this is a hard song, like cheering you on. So you're doing great. Okay, right. Go for it. I'll give you that note again.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the lands of the free and the home of the brave?
Yay! I don't know if you noticed, but you got a couple hearts coming. Yeah. People are cheering you on. You're just something like, oh, it's hot in here.
It was like going at the end.
You did great. And it's good that you're nervous too, because it gives you the same sensation of when you actually perform this, you're gonna be nervous. You know? All right. So my first note is that you're bringing all the weight up. So I know some of these things we talked about already in our warm-up course, but I'm going to go through it anyways for the people that aren't in our free warm-up group, which if you aren't, you should be clicking the link and joining. But for those of you who have no idea and aren't part of that, bringing the weight up. So right now what you're doing is, I'll just give an example. And this is a little over-exaggerated just so you can understand. But you're sitting with your tone too deep in your chest as far as placement. It's becoming an, oh, say, can you see? And then it pulls this weight because the placement of it is so low that as you go higher, you're pushing more, you're having to pull it all the way up, right? So we want to place it already up here in your nasal pharynx, lighter, brighter, higher, rather than, oh, it becomes a, oh. And the interesting thing is, this is in your speaking range. You have a low speaking voice, but when you go to sing, you're giving it like this, almost like you're singing. If you were speaking how you sing, you speak like this. And you're not like one of those dude chicks that, you know, has that low voice like surfer chicks. I'm from a surf town and they've kind of, sometimes they've got that voice every once in a while. No offense, everyone's going to hate me now. They're going to be like, ah, but the placement is too low. So instead of, oh, We want, oh, and to you, it's going to sound really nasal and really annoying and really cartoony and really like you're talking like this. And in the beginning, that's okay, because if that's what has to thin out those vocal cords and get you up there, that's fine. That way, as you continue throughout the song, oh, say, it said, oh, say, can you see by the, and you're already there. You're already here. You don't have to go anywhere, if that makes sense. So let's try that very, very beginning again, because this is the kickoff to your song. And I want you to place it here as much as you can. And I'm going to have you do something as well to help you with it. But for right now, just do it one try. Oh, like really annoying. And keep it there. And go all the way up into by the dawn's early light. That whole kick right there.
Oh, say, can you sing by the dawn's early light?
Good. Let's do that all over again, what you just did there. And people who are listening are going to go, what? That sounds totally different. Totally different. So place it again. Keep it there. Don't drop it at all. Keep it there the entire time, like a rubber band.
Oh, say, can you sing by the dawn's early light?
Good. Now you did a little bit on by the dawn's early light. That was a drop, but that was really good for the C. So let's do it one more time, as nasal pinging as you can to keep it right there.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light?
Ah, yay! Super awesome. So I'm going to put in the notes, and I suggest that you do as well, is underneath, I want you to put an arrow pointing up. And this is reminding you, oh, at the beginning, I need to place it here. I need to place it up and lifted and light rather than down in your chest. So just a little simple arrow pointing up underneath the word O, as well as, oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early as well. Needs an arrow pointing up, because that was also where you, and I'm saying like 90% of the people I've taught this to, drop down, and we don't want you to drop down there at all. Okay, so now that we kind of know the placement needs to be there, so we're doing a little bit of a cheater lesson where I'm going to give you tips. Your job is then to go through the rest of the song and videotape yourself and then analyze, did I drop down or did I stay up? Did I drop down or did I stay up? And it takes a lot of focus to stay there, but you have to stay there throughout this entire song, because it just does this roller coaster. You got to work your way up, and you don't want to do that. But since we're limited on time, I want to teach you some other things as well. So that was one, was you're bringing the weight from the bottom up. The second thing that I have on here, I think it'll help, because if you're focusing on every single note like a rubber band heading forward, your chin does this weird drop thing, and it tells me that you're thinking of low note, high note, low note, high note, and you drop down on the low. So I think if you focus on keeping it here, your chin's not going to move as much. The other thing that I notice is mouth and primarily jaw. You have a lot of tension here, which usually I see from British people. I don't know why. It's like a British thing to cut that jaw forward, but that's what you're doing. So this forward and then this here as well. Oh, say it's this. Can you see, especially on your higher notes, you're pulling. So we want to think as much as possible as up and down this way. And how I'm going to help you with that is a couple of things. One, knowing how to open your mouth. I know, again, we've gone over this in our warm-up group, but for those of you that haven't joined the group, you want to think of unhinging your jaw from here and releasing it. I have TMJ, so I have to do a lot of massages and warm-ups and stuff, but eventually it does relax, making sure that it's unhinged rather than pulled. If you feel any pulling or tension or anything in here, it's going to reflect on the vocal cords. So unhinging almost like you're just kind of dumb, like that released jaw. That's what we want with the polar opposite of lifting and flaring, which is a very odd beginning. You're like, how do I do these two together? Practice. Really practice a lot of it. But in the beginning, just thinking of nasal tone with jaw unhinged is enough to get us within that mix. So I'm going to put on here nasal tone with jaw unhinged in general for you. Another way that we're going to help with this, though, is we're going to pick out the open vowels within the song. And we're going to actually break them down. Hi, Jake. I don't know. So Jake is watching. Hi, Jake. We're going to actually break it down in some of these words and pull out the ah vowels so that way you know what you can really open on. So we have oh, I think you're noticing. Oh, say, can you see? By, that's a great ba. Rather than by, here, by. The E goes right at the end. It's like a manipulation. It's hybriding a vowel, basically. By. So you're going to write underneath the word by, put ba dash E. By the. There's just a little bit of E right at the end, but we're focusing on that open ah. By the dawns. Dawns is another beautiful one as well. So let's throw in dawn. So we have, that's kind of obvious. It has the sound of ah, but D-A-W, dawns. Early light. By the dawns, early light. I would open on light as well. The more you can open, the more power you're going to get to the song, and the more you're going to unhinge that jaw. So L-A-H or A-W, light. What so proud? This is an important one. Proudly. So we have P-R-A-H dash Lee. What's so proud? That's the same thing as dawn's early, like right by the dawn. What's so proud? Okay, I'm going to throw in a couple more, and then I'm going to show you how you're going to drill these words to get them handled. Okay, what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming. Yeah, twilights. Okay. Okay, we're going to skip ahead to the harder part, just for some of these. And the rockets ready, declare that whole right there. Yeah. You started off way higher than I normally do, but that's okay. I go even lower on mine, but and the rockets red glare. Okay, so glare is one that I want to touch up on. Glare. It's an air. It's a really hard one, and that's the red glare. So we're going to again modify. Oh my goodness. Kitties are good because they don't howl when you warm up. My dogs howl.
Owls. Yeah.
So glare is an ah-e hybrid. And it's a way that we're going to say it that sounds like glare when you sing it, but if you're speaking, it would sound like glar. Glar. Red glare. It's like a ah-eh kind of hybrid of it. And obviously you have to figure it out a little bit how it sounds on your own, but for now on glare, we're going to put G-L-A-E. So one way that we can practice an odd eh is doing ah eh, and all that moves moves is a tiny bit of the tongue comes up. That's it. Ah, glare, glare. And then we're going to head over to air a little bit more. Glare. And the rocket, red glare. So you glare. I kind of mess with it. But that's simply to keep the mouth open rather than red glare. And then it's closed and it's tense. Okay, so from the higher areas, how you're going to practice these words. So you'll go through the whole song. You're also welcome in about an hour. I'm going to write down all of these in my cheat sheet, and you can also get that as well at vocalfreebies.com. I'll also post it up in the warm-up group underneath this as well. But once you have what words you need to open the on, then you can go back and you can throw them into warm-ups to train your mouth. So we have by, dawn, proudly. These are all open ahs. So then you attach it onto a scale. So we would do a bye. Give it a shot. Give it a shot.
Bye.
Yeah. If you watch in the video, you'll see at the top you pull and then you go back in. So that's something that's important to practice on. Then the next one we might do is dawns. Dawns. Keep the nasal tone. Don't go to dawn, but dawn.
Dawn. Dawn.
Yeah. So I highly suggest doing these in front of the mirror to make sure that the mouth is opening and that you're bringing. Last one we would do is twilight. So let's make it a double. So we're going to do a twilight.
Twilight.
Yeah, that's good. So that's how you're going to train in these words without singing the song, but getting your mouth to open up and kind of hide where these vowels a little bit, all right? The last thing I want to go over, I don't know how we're doing on time. I can't look at it. Do you have a clock near you somewhere? Hang on, let's see. How are we doing on time? Oh, good. Okay. All right. I'll go a little bit over. Okay. I want to go into, because if I don't go over it, people are going to be like, oh, you didn't go over the hard part, So, which thing is kind of hard. As we are getting into the high notes, all right, because that's where everybody's like, I hate this song, like it just doesn't work. We want to make sure of three things. One we've already worked on, which was opening up. Open your mouth as much as you can. Break down those words to bring in those vowels. Two, make sure it's placed in the nasal pharynx. If you try to push this puppy from the chest, I wish you luck, but you will be one of those people that you see on YouTube that you're like, oh, even famous people sometimes do it, and you're just like, it just sounds like they're yelling. So really making sure that you're placing it in that nasal pharynx as much as you can. So practicing it, sounding like a cartoon will help for sure. And then the last thing is, and those of you that follow me on YouTube know this one really well, is you want to sit down into your high notes. So again, we're doing this polar opposite thing. We're placing the sound nasally and up here and awake, but we're thinking of the note going down rather than reaching up. And this is a way to meet in the middle, because oftentimes if I tell you to hit the note in the middle, you're going to push up anyways. But if I tell you to envision the note opening and then sinking down into the body, almost expanding, we're going to get more power from that high note because there's lack of tension. So if we're in yours, say, can you see by the noise? And it's regular, nobody singing and gave through the night that I find was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave? This is the part. O'er the land. All right, so, or or the, or over. A lot of people say over the, but it's not actually over the, it's or the. Or the land of the free. We are pointing up because you better set that right here because you're about to go crazy high. Or the, or as pingy and nasal as you can get that, puppy. Thank you for the hearts and love, everybody. The better. Or the land of, then we're going to think down, the free, right? Free. Now, I'll get into the last word in a moment because that is preferential on how you want to do it. I do mine a certain way because I like it, but technically I'm saying fray and I'm not saying free, but I find I get more space and everyone seems to like it. So, okay, so or that, we're going to put an arrow pointing up because remember we're thinking of placing up. And then it's kind of at your discretion on where you want to start thinking down. It's up to you. I would probably do it or the land of the. I would probably do it around of or the, personally. But absolutely on free. Free has to be bend knees, sink the button, think down. Free! Rather than free! Which is what we don't want. All right? So just for the sake of it, I'm going to think of, I'm going to put under of, sit into body, and then on free, I'm going to put an arrow pointing down. Just for this. Or it's here, or the land, and then we have of the, and then free is all the way down. Free! Now, last but not least is the word free. Some people have really strong E tone. And free is like super good for them, no problem. For me, performance-wise, I feel like it's not strong enough. It doesn't feel, and I hate to say this, but it doesn't feel difficult enough. It just sounds too pretty. It doesn't feel like I'm gutting it enough, and the audience loves it when you sound like it's hard, but you don't want to make it hard. So I found that if I change the word free to fray and kind of open my mouth more, it creates a rounder, bolder tone that can be translated to a bigger belt rather than a clean high note. And so the difference on that, again, is free, which kind of pulls a little bit, but we're pinging it here. Land of the free, which is technically head voice with a ping, or same similar sound, but opening up as fray. Or the land of the free. It almost sounds like a belt rather than free. And you give a little in if you want. However you want to mix it and match it, but that's what I like to do. Give it a little bit of grit so it sounded like I struggled, but I don't want to struggle. It's this wonderful, beautiful mix of I don't want to struggle with my voice because I want it to work well, but I also don't want it to look so easy that people don't think it's a high note. And then they don't give it the yeah, you know, that I need. All right, free and the home of the brave. Brave, since it's the last bold note, is breath. There's the eh. Brave. And I put the A at the end. Instead of brave, which doesn't, it's not as open as brave. Yeah, it's actually a big blessing that we're able to hybrid and mutate these notes and these words within our language because we're not limited by tones and we're not limited by closed tones. Whereas here in Thailand, there's a lot of closed and you have to hit certain tones and you can't hybrid it as much. Whereas since we don't necessarily have the accents change a different word in English, we're able to hybrid the crap out of words. So, brave, B-R-E-H, brave, and then A at the very end. And again, you can practice that on the piano. doing your bright, and then put the ave at the end. That way you can train it, and then when you go for it. My very last suggestion is, since we chose C#4 as your starting note, practice it in C#4, but also practice it in D. Simply because your adrenaline's going to be pumping. You're going to be nervous as shit. I think I can say shit. Nervous as shit. And you're going to be like, oh my God, what am I doing? You're going to freak out. That will make you more likely to hit your higher notes and less likely to hit your lower notes. So the last thing you want to go out there is, oh, and lose that low note because the nerves are just so insane. So practice it in your C# as well as your D, in both of them. And then that way, when the time comes, you have your little app that's free. You get your little piano free app. You hit it, you sing a little bit of in the bathroom or wherever you're going to practice, and then you sing the other one, and then you kind of decide right before you go out which one sounded better, which one you want to roll with, and that gives you a slight option. I tend to end up going with the one that's a half step higher every single time. When I'm practicing, it's great, but right before, I've got the adrenaline, and for me, this song is the one I get the most nervous with. Out of any song I ever sing, anywhere, doesn't matter how large the crowd is. I've sang in Las Vegas to like over 5,000 people. I wasn't nearly as nervous as I was as I sang it at a roller derby, like, home event. And for me, it's because I forget words a lot, just randomly, and I'm really good at making them up on the spot, and nobody knows. But everybody knows the words to the national anthem. And I'm like, if I forget the words, I can't just make them up and roll with it. Like, people will know. So I freak out about that. But, you know, to each their own. Everyone has their song that they're like, yeah. So I tend to hesitate when I get asked to sing this song. I'm like, I don't know. Will I end up on YouTube, the one that like forgets the words and just goes, Well, do you have any questions at all? I'm opening it up to everyone who's viewing can post up questions. If you're watching this as a rerun, you're also welcome to comment below with your questions as well. But do you have any questions in there? I know I gave you a lot of information. We really had a half hour. We even went over it. I'm like,
so when I'm practicing it, should I just practice like nasal and softer? Just softer,
for
right?
you, yeah. In the times that I've heard you sing, you have a tendency of singing with too much air when we need more chord. And chord is going to be that nasal king, because it's going to thin out those vocal cords and actually start working the adductor and the adductor, so that way they hold and condense as they're needed to adjust the vocal cords. So your general scale is and it pulls away the strength, whereas has that strength that you need, because we're now actually stretching the vocal cords instead of just pushing air through. So in your case, since there's so much air and it takes away any strength as you go higher, cartoon chord all the time. Just make sure that, again, your volume isn't too high, and that you're still unhinging and relaxing the face. Because a lot of times the cartoon voice comes with a tight face, and we don't want to do that. We want to have the opposite. So.
What do you do? Because we both have the TMJ, remember? What do you do when you lock out, like during a performance? What do you do?
I've never actually locked out. So, right?
Yeah,
I have done where I had to do recordings for a client, and I actually had to step away and stretch everything because you could hear the clicking in the recording. That's probably the worst I've done. I have had live performances where I can hear, but no one else can hear it, you know? So I've never actually locked out. I really think I've never locked out, simply because before I perform, I always do at least a week. Even if I've been like sucking at not doing my warm-ups, I do at least a week before every single day warm-ups. And the more this stretches and the more I warm up and the more I really focus on opening and relaxing it, the less it clicks. And if I do my warm-ups every day, then it'll eventually just stop clicking. But if I don't do a warm-up for 2 days, both sides.
I know that like mine definitely comes from overuse, so like no chewing gum, nothing like that. But like a lot of what I do is I just can't seem to open my mouth enough. Like I feel like my jaw is small, and when I open up like that, it feels like it's closing up stuff in the back, and I feel like my chin's coming out to open it up. That's wrong.
No, you don't want your chin to come forward. Everything is going to feel awkward. Think of it like you're learning how to dance and you're stretching and you're just starting to stretch. And you're like, I'm trying to do, the splits, let's say, and you're like, but I feel so much tension. And if I shift my hip this way, I can get deeper, but then it pulls weird here. It's simply because the muscles are just not exactly used to it. So don't force it, but just allow over time, it will get better. Your jaw will start to relax. I also, for me personally, is throughout the day, I check in because I have a tendency of gripping in the day. In the daytime, I'm like clenching my jaw and I'll stop. And like at a red light, or red lights are really easy for me. And I just check in, is it unhinged? Am I gripping? Am I, and kind of checking in on it. Any singing, as you're learning how to sing or learning how to do anything different, it's going to feel really weird. And there is a really good possibility that as you're opening it and unhinging, you are closing off something in here. That is totally possible. But that's not from you opening per se. That's from tension because it feels weird to open, so your body's putting tension somewhere else. As it starts to relax and it gets used to it, it will naturally start to open up again. That kind of makes sense in there.
I hope so.
Give it time. Give it time. And since you're in the group, you can see all of the different warm-up suggestions. Don't just do lip trills all the time. Like, especially my go-tos probably are chord drills, which is truthfully is actually more advanced, but hey, what are you going to do? And awe slides. Because the off slide really makes me focus on opening up and relaxing and keeping it here. And that's my go-to, over and over. Off slide, E slide, O slide, anything that I can open up and I focus on staying open and relaxed. And that's my go-to. If I have like 5 minutes, little bit of chord just to get the ping right in here, and then go into the ah to open up as much as I can, trying not to bring in tension. So. Yeah. And I suggest you look at your family members, like your sisters and your brothers or whoever you have been around a lot, and see what they do with their jaw. See when they're talking, if they put tension in it, kind of watch what they do, because a lot of times it's a learned behavior. So it'd be interesting to see if your family members have similar habits. My sister talks exactly like I do. Exactly like I do. She doesn't sing like I do because she hasn't spent her whole life training, but she talks exactly like it's kind of scary, actually. I
feel like everyone's more relaxed than I am, but we'll see.
Well, I've seen far worse. So you're fine. It's just an uncomfortable, I don't quite know what I'm doing tension thing going on. So
it's definitely.
Yeah. But
okay.
You're like, but I think that was good. I don't think anyone who's watching has any questions right now because it's not popping up. I'm gonna wrap up then, and then I will put this up online. I'll also put up the cheat sheet. Since we went a little over, I'll have the cheat sheet up within the next couple of hours because I gotta work out.
No problem.
Okay. All right, good chatting with you, Christine.
It was actually awesome. Thank you, Audrey.
You're welcome, and I'll see you in the warm-up group.
See you there.
All right, bye.
Bye.